Hi, welcome back to this short series on judging online. So, this year we're doing things a little differently. I mentioned it in the last video, and now seems a good time to talk about it again. Because of coronavirus, we're running many of our tournaments this season online. Now, that's an interesting change from what we're used to. We're used to everybody if you haven't done this before, we're used to everybody going to a school and we divide up into various classrooms and we post pieces of paper on the walls that tell kids where to go and we hand judges ballots with students' names on them for feedback. Well, things are changing a little this year because we can't all get together at a school and do that kind of moving around and putting people uh, in rooms together in that same kind of way and do it safely. We've decided to move online. Now, there are two mechanisms for competition that we can use that definitely have some distinct advantages. We have asynchronous competition and synchronous competition. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to approach the ballots for both asynchronous and synchronous competition, and a little bit more about what those things look like using Tabroom and NSDA Campus, which is the software that we've decided to use this year. So let's head over to my screen, and we'll talk about what it looks like once you've logged in and been assigned ballots for a tournament. So the tournament that we're going to be looking at is uh, a test tournament that we've created, that we've set up. Um, and this screen is the screen that you'll see when you get ballots for a tournament and log in to your Tabroom account. Once again, you can get to this screen by clicking on your email address up at the top. And it shows you which ballots are available to you. Now, I've assigned myself 3 ballots for this tournament, 1 asynchronous ballot and 2 synchronous ballots. They all have this big start button. And when you're ready to accept the ballot, please click the start button as soon as possible so that we know in the Tabroom that you've accepted the ballot, that you're on your way to the room. Don't wait to click that start button. Click it just as soon as you possibly can. You don't have to wait for students to show up. You don't have to wait for, like, if you're in a synchronous round, you don't have to wait for students to show up. You don't have to wait until you're actually ready to just start the round. Just click the big green start button as soon as you are willing to accept the ballot and judge. Um, so as soon as you get a notification in your email or via text message, you should log in and click that start button just as soon as possible. That changes the back end of the Tabroom to let us know that you've accepted the ballot and started the round. Even if you haven't actually started the round yet, at least we know you've accepted the ballot and we don't have to replace you as a judge. The other thing that Tabroom does is it builds in a replace and fine feature, which means that any fine the tournament director wants to give for judges who miss rounds and need to be reassigned can be immediately just billed to the school. So, in order to avoid those things, it's really important that you make sure you get to your round, which is to say, click that start button just as soon as possible. Otherwise, we might have to replace you, and if we have to replace you, uh, you are likely to get fined. So, to be a good tournament citizen, be sure to accept those ballots as soon as they come in. Now, I want to start by talking about asynchronous ballots because those are unusual and a little weird. You see, when we do asynchronous events, and this is mostly for speech events, debate will almost always be synchronous, um, just because of the nature of debate. It will almost always be synchronous, as will events like extemporaneous speaking will almost always be synchronous or impromptu. But we have a bunch of events where students memorize pieces, right? Where they memorize the speeches they write or the interpretation pieces they do. And in some cases, we will have them record their performances. And those recordings will get submitted to the tournament before the tournament begins. And so ballots for those asynchronous rounds can be paired and out just as soon as all of the videos are in, which means theoretically a speech round could start days before the tournament starts. You may find a ballot days before the tournament is scheduled to begin. Um, for example, let's take this duo round one here. You'll notice it says videos on ballot due by Thursday, 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thursday, 9:30 a.m. MST is the time that I've set in the system for this tournament for this round to end. So Thursday, this is October 7th when I'm recording it. Thursday, October 8th, um, at 9:30 a.m., round one of duo is scheduled to end, which means that's the deadline that we have for um, submitting this ballot. But if I get this ballot, like right now, it's like I said, about 5 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. Um, it doesn't matter. I don't have to wait until 8 o'clock on Thursday morning when the duo round would usually start to judge this. I can judge it right now. So I'm going to click on ballot. Usually this would be start, but I wanted to check, so I already clicked the start button so it knows that I'm there. I'm going to click this ballot, and it's going to take me to my online ballot for the round. You'll notice next to each speaker at the beginning is this little button that looks like a video camera. As I hover over it, it turns white. If there were actually a video here, when I click this, it would pop open a new tab and take me to YouTube. In this case, there is no actual video linked, so it just reopens the ballot in a new tab. But it would take me to the video link that the students submitted of their performance. And I could watch the video of Lee and Thong and enter the title of their piece, and then their rank, let's say they did great, and I give them a 1, and their speaker points, they did really great, I gave them a 50. And I can just go down the list, and the best part of it is I can do this really anytime. As long as I have the ballot, and it's before 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, when this particular practice tournament is scheduled to end, as long as it's before that deadline, I can judge this round, which means after dinner, maybe I've got an hour, I want to watch some duo videos, no problem. Which means if I've got a few minutes on my lunch break, or if I'm bored, or before I go to bed, or shortly after I wake up in the morning, it doesn't matter. As long as I get this round judged by the time the ballot entry deadline is listed, which in this case is 9:30 Thursday morning. So I would go through and enter my rank and points for each student, their title and question perhaps. And when I finish, I can click Submit Ballot. Now, there may be a setting set where you have to give feedback prior to submitting your ballot. I know at the Jim Fountain Classic, I've set the requirement to be a minimum of 50 words in the reason for decision box. That way, students are assured to get feedback and comments, and you won't be able to click that Submit Ballot button until that basic requirement has been fulfilled. Here's the thing, though. It's great because you can actually edit your feedback up until the end of the tournament. Students won't see feedback until the ballots come back at the end of the tournament, until the results have been posted. So you can actually go back and edit your feedback as long as you submit the rank and points as soon as possible. The sooner you submit those, the sooner we know that the round is completed. You don't have to wait to finish giving your feedback before you submit the ballot. You can go back and edit it later, and really all the way up until the end of the tournament, which eliminates any sort of excuse for not giving feedback, because that's really what we're here for, right? We really need judges to give good feedback. So we want you to give good feedback on your ballots as well, but you can come back and edit your ballots later. So there are a couple of things to note about the feedback section on the ballot. First is the first thing that pops up is the reason for decision, and you can see comments go to, and there's a drop-down menu here. So the first one is the reason for rankings, and it goes to everybody in the round. What you type here will be seen by everyone in the round and their coaches. So after a tournament, when we get ballots back, I can see the reason for ranking the round and the individual feedback for my student, and my students can see that as well. So any comments you want to go to everyone, put them here. Don't put your individual unique comments for competitors in this particular box with this particular option. Make this a more general discussion about why you ranked the round the way you did, why you chose the top half, why you chose the bottom half, what factors influenced you and allowed you to rank the round in the order that you chose. Did some pieces move you more than others? Did some pieces make you laugh harder? Did some pieces were some pieces cleaner and more polished? What comments might you give to the entire group to explain why you made the decision that you made? Then as you click this drop down, you can see that each entry gets their own comments as well. So if I have comments for Li and Thong, I'm going to click here, and any comments I type in this box will go strictly to AM, Li, and Thong and their coaches. When I finish with any given feedback, I click Save Feedback, and that feedback is saved for them. So when I click off and go down here, and then go back to Li and Thong, my feedback is still there. Once I finished filling out my ballot and my comments, I click Submit Ballot. Three, 48, 4, 47, 5, 6, 45, 44. Save feedback and submit ballot. It's going to bring me to this screen and ask me to confirm my ranking of the round. So I'm going to double check my ranking. I'm going to look at the ranks I gave, the points that I gave, etc., and make sure that this information is accurate. And then I'm going to click yes, correct, confirm it. And then you'll notice that the ballot disappears from my current rounds up here, but appears in my past ballots. So I can go back and click edit feedback and edit my feedback later. If I want to give feedback to those other competitors, I can go back and do that here. So that's really handy. That's really useful. I can't change the scores at this point. If I need to change the scores, I need to contact the tab room through whatever method is set up for you to contact the tab room. Usually a text message or an email to the tournament director will do the trick. That's how I can change the scores after my ballot is confirmed. But I need to be sure to submit and confirm that ballot as soon as possible. That's how we're going to keep the tournament sort of moving on time. Now, that's great with the asynchronous things because I don't need to worry about this ballot being in until 9:30 tomorrow, right? Because tomorrow's when my theoretical tournament ends. So really, I can judge the asynchronous rounds whenever I want. Synchronous rounds are a little different. You'll notice that this Varsity Lincoln Douglas round 2 starts at 5:45 p.m. On Wednesday night. So that's I'm recording this at 5:08 p.m. So 5:45 p.m. this round starts in about 40 minutes, about half an hour, a little more than half an hour. These are going to be my debaters, Kevin Zhang and Daniel Lee. And when I get this ballot and I'm ready, I'm going to click start and start the round. This, remember, lets the tab room know that I'm present and available to take the round. Not necessarily that the round has begun, but that I am present and available to take the round. So let's for a moment imagine that I am present and want to take the round. This is the ballot that I'll get. Tells me some information here, like what the current topic is. Resolved in a democracy, voting ought to be compulsory. Tells me what time my decision is due, 6:45. How much time I have left to watch the round and render that decision, an hour and 35 minutes. And the points and range of points that I can offer. So for speaker points, My range is about 20 to 30 usually for debate. It's okay to tie speaker points, and I can use steps of 0.5, which means I could give Kevin 25.5 speaker points and Daniel 26.5 speaker points, right? Then I need to choose the winning entry and the side that they spoke on. If it's a low point win, I need to indicate as much and submit my ballot. That's basically how you fill out a ballot. Again, down here is feedback. The first tab is reason for decision, where any comment you give here will go to all the competitors in the round. These comments will go to all the participants in the round. You should be thorough in your reason for decision. When you write a reason for decision for debate, you should justify what it is that made you convinced to vote one way or the other. Did one particular side fail to address an argument that you found compelling? Did one particular side offer an argument that you found super compelling, but didn't do enough to support it? Whatever it might be, like whatever caused you to vote the way you did, you should address that here and save that feedback. Additionally, each debater gets some feedback. So this is feedback for Daniel. This is feedback for Kevin. And again, you can edit feedback all the way up until the end of the tournament. Now, this is all well and good, but I'm sure you're asking, hey, Richie, how do I actually judge the round? You've told me about how to fill out my ballot, which is fine, but how do I actually judge the round? Well, when you arrive at your ballot, you'll notice up here in the top corner is a room link. Again, this is a little video icon with or a little blue button with a video icon that turns white when you hover over it. If I click this, it's going to take me to NSDA campus. NSDA campus is going to use my microphone and my camera. Well, I'll show you how that works. Allow, and change it to my proper camera. So it uses my microphone and my camera just like Zoom or anything else, right? And it's going to put me in this video conferencing room in Jitsi. Jitsi is the software that we use for embedded video conferencing, and your two debaters will join you in here, and you'll have the debate inside this piece of software, inside this video conferencing room. Students can share files with each other through the file share. There's a built-in timer for things like prep time or speech time, so that you can keep track of things. It's a fairly simple, straightforward timer. Shouldn't require too much explanation. You can use it or not use it as you see fit. There's a chat function where you can text chat with the debaters, or raise your hand function. It's fairly simple and straightforward, but very useful. And this is how you'll video conference with students in a synchronous round. So in a debate round, you'll be conferencing with students in these Jitsi rooms, and they automatically pop up, and you can keep your ballot open in another tab. Here we go. You can keep your ballot open in another tab and switch back and forth between. I'm switching between screens because I've got it set up to be full screen right now. But if I'm watching the debate in one window, all I need to do is go over to my other tab to type some comments for, say, Kevin Zhang, who's the affirmative in this particular situation, right? Once the round is over, all I need to do is close the room, and it bails me out of the campus room. I come back to my ballot, I fill it out, I put in the relevant speaker points, the side that won, any feedback I have, and I click Submit Ballot. My ballot had errors. This tournament requires comments for each speaker. Please leave at least 25 words of feedback for each speaker. That's great, actually. So I need to come in as I do this, and I need to fill out 25 words for each speaker. So I wonder if I've got... I don't think I have that set up. I'm just going to use something called Lorem Ipsum Greeting Text. Just meaningless text. You shouldn't do this. I'm doing this just for purposes of demonstration. Then I submit ballot. Tells me that Daniel Lee on the NAG wins, entry 17, 26.5 to 25.5. It is accurate. I'm going to confirm it. Yes, correct. Confirm it. I'm the 24th judge out of 24 to submit my ballot for round 2. So it will tell you whether or not, or it will tell you that particular order. Now I'm going to return home. And you'll notice that I can come back and edit feedback on that ballot as well. Now the final thing I want to show you is DI round 2, which is going to be a synchronous speech round, which is going to work pretty much the same way a synchronous debate round works. But as we click start, you'll notice that instead of like the other speech event where I had a video for each competitor, I just have a room link like in the debate round. And that room link, like in the debate round, is going to allow me to go to another one of those NSDA campus Jitsi rooms. Again, same deal, same video and audio controls, same chat room, same file share and timer if those things are necessary. That probably won't, like the file share at least won't be in a speech round. But again, I will meet with the kids in this room and be able to watch their performances. And that's really handy. So I can watch the kids perform live. And this is how things like Extemp will work most of the time, how things like Impromptu will work most of the time, how any tournament where events run synchronously, where speech events run synchronously will work. And then again, I come back to this section. I can fill out the ranks. I can fill out comments for everyone, a reason for my rankings. I can fill out individual comments per competitor and submit my ballot, and I'm good to go. A couple of things about leaving comments and feedback. Make sure you're specific. Think about the things about their performance that are unique to them, that are things that stand out, things that are good, that they should expand on, things that need some work, in your opinion, things that didn't quite resonate with you. Don't ever be cruel, but don't just be kind either. Which is to say, not that you shouldn't be kind and considerate when you're giving feedback, but be compassionate in your feedback. Don't be mean, but don't just blow sunshine at them either, right? Tell them what they can do to improve. Tell them what they might be able to do better next time you see them. What would you prefer to see? Is there something about their something about the blocking that they have, something about their emotional range, something about their choice of words that isn't working for you? One thing about judging speech in general that I want to talk about, and these are some kind of broad generalities, is that we should judge performances rather than really anything else. And I'll actually talk about this in my next video, but keep your comments focused on the performances and what those can do to improve rather than anything else that you might be tempted to talk about. Particularly in this situation, things are going to be a little different and a little messy. Some students may have some technical issues. There may be trouble with the Jitsi room, and it may be a little stuttery. It may be that students don't have a good lighting setup or a good camera or something like that. And so their videos may not look great, or their audio may cut out a little bit. Try not to factor those things in when you're judging. Try and be compassionate about those distinctions and differences. And be thorough in your feedback. Since you've got as much time as you want to leave that feedback to really write something in detail for these students, make sure that you spend time doing that. I recommend setting this up a little bit as a maybe sort of split screen situation. Like I said, I've got mine set up right now for, I'm going to open up a room link. I'm going to minimize this. Maybe consider setting it up like a bit of a split screen. So you've got the NSDA campus room in a window on one side of your screen, and you've got your ballot open on another side of your screen, so that you can type your comments as you go, right? So you can type feedback as you go. If I'm watching Vale Chen do her performance in this room, I can actually type comments to Vale Chen as I watch her. I don't have to sit with a notepad and write things down and then copy them in later. It's just going to be probably fastest and easiest for you if you type your notes while you watch the round, while you engage with the round, if you can find a way of setting up your screen to do that. I have a big screen with a lot of screen real estate. I actually have two screens working, so that's pretty easy for me in my current setup. But something like this is also good, or just anything that enables you to sort of enter your comments as quickly as possible and get that ballot back as quickly as possible. I think that's probably the best way to approach it. In any case, once you're done, again, click Submit Ballot. It'll take you back to your home screen. That's fine. It'll take you back to your home screen. It'll tell you what ballots you might have coming up. If you've been assigned a ballot for another round, it will show you the ballots that you've already filled out, so that you can edit the feedback before the tournament ends. And this is the place where you can come to check out what you need. Remember, if you ever get in trouble, if you ever get lost in anything, just come click on your name up here in the top right hand corner. So hopefully that explains a little bit of the difference between synchronous and asynchronous ballots. With synchronous ballots, you're going to need to be on time wherever the time on the ballot says. So Thursday 9:45 a.m. is going to be this DI round, and I'm going to need to be there Thursday at 9:45 a.m. to judge it, because that's when the students are going to show up to that NSDA classroom, right? That NSDA campus room. So I need to be there at that time. But with, for example, this duo round that's set up asynchronously, I can judge that anytime I want. I can judge that after dinner. I can judge it before I go to bed. Anytime, like after that ballot shows up in my account, I can judge that round. So that's really the difference between synchronous and asynchronous ballots. Tournaments will have a combination of both. So if you're signed up for a tournament, make sure you know if you're slated to be judging synchronous rounds or asynchronous rounds. If you're judging speech, you may have both kinds of rounds. You may get a couple of ballots showing up in your account. You may get notifications a couple of days before the tournament, and that's plenty of time to log in and check out those asynchronous ballots and get them judged before the tournament even starts on Saturday. So if you happen to have a 11 a.m. extemp round, you can make that on time and not have to worry about whether or not you got your DI and your duo ballot in on time. Things like that are going to be very important this year, so make sure you keep an eye out on that. The other nice thing about asynchronous ballots is that it means that sometimes students can enter multiple competitions on a weekend. So, for example, this past weekend we had the Desert Ridge Maverick Invitational, and we had several students who entered asynchronous speech events who also entered a synchronous tournament online at Yale University in New Haven. So we had students who were actively competing at Yale while having their asynchronous performance judged at Desert Ridge. The other part of that is that you could theoretically judge at multiple tournaments on a weekend. I recommend highly against that. I really recommend concentrating on one tournament a weekend as a judge, because tournament staff may need to replace a judge, and they may need you at a time when you did not think you were going to be needed. And that makes things really complicated and very frustrating for us as tabulation staff, for those of us who tabulate tournaments. It makes it really complicated for us if we need you to judge, like emergency judge this debate elimination round, but you're already judging a speech round at some tournament across the country. So resist that temptation if possible, um, just because it makes things much more complicated for us when judges that we think are available actually aren't available. Um, so that's another way of like being a good citizen as a judge. And we'll talk actually a little bit more about some good tips for judging in general in my next video. So thank you very much, and I'll see you there.